Hey, Marlins fans, welcome to a new edition of Big Fish Small Pod for Monday, May 20th, here on the Fish on First podcast channel, presented by MPT College Consulting. This is Ely Sussman here, sticking with my plan where on every Monday, get a small pod, shining the spotlight on a different Marlins prospect from each level, each full season level of the Marlins farm system. For better or for worse, we covered 4 different guys last week, so go ahead and check that out in case you missed it. Always going to pick a different batch of players from one week to the next to highlight right here. Without further ado, AAA Jacksonville, Xavier Edwards. He's back in action after 2+ months rehabbing from a foot infection that knocked him out early in spring training. He's back on the field, started a rehab assignment on Saturday. The number 8 prospect on our Fish on First top 30. Just a refresher from last season in AAA, he won the International League batting title, hit .351, career high 7 homers, 32 of 36 on stolen base attempts. He forced his way up to the big leagues. He stuck around for that final month of the regular season at the big league level. And this year, because of the foot infection, he hasn't had a chance to build off of that. It's created room for some other infielders on the big league roster. And he has picked up exactly where he left off. Very first game back, hit a triple for Jacksonville on Saturday. Then on Sunday, has wanted his patented bunt singles, where it wasn't really particularly close either. That is a skill that he has that has some value at the big league level, where it's harder to find guys that lays it down. He played both of his games at second base so far with Jacksonville. He made a pretty routine error on Sunday, and that's just a refresher that it kind of a reason why he's not super highly regarded or penciled in necessarily as a long-term building block for the Marlins is because there are some limitations defensively with Edwards, as well as an overall run producer due to his limited power right here. Anyway, he is on this 60-day IL that's retroactive to March 25th. So if my math is right, he'll be eligible to be reinstated by the Marlins as soon as Friday. I think that's a little bit unlikely, but it's getting close, and it's just a matter of whether or not he's a clear upgrade or a more deserving player than somebody else that they have on their position player group right now. So we'll follow that. I wanted to feature him this week just because there's a chance that he's not even in the minor leagues anymore a week from now. Xavier Edwards, good to see him back on the field. Going to AA Pensacola, our number 25 prospect on Fish on First, Joe Mack. Highly regarded draft pick 3 years ago as a high school catcher. Battled some injuries the first 2 years in pro ball, and then last year completely injury-free for the most part, but just highly disappointing, especially offensively for Mack. And then this year, you may have heard that he got off to an incredible start, repeating high A Beloit. He moved up to Pensacola after just 13 games or so, and now it's been all right. He is one of the younger players at the entire level, still just 21 years old, and so far in 24 games since that promotion to AA, he is slashing .237, a .301, .387. It's an OPS under 700, but I think it's important context that the Southern League is playing extremely pitcher-friendly right now. The entire league's OPS is down about 100 points from where it was just last year, from 740 to 640. So that means Mack is still 10% better than the league average hitter so far, despite the underwhelming raw numbers with him. He is splitting time evenly between catcher and DH. So I find that interesting for somebody that is a highly important part of the equation that he develops as a catcher. And they have a crowded situation with Mack, with Paul McIntosh, with Bennett Hostetler, 3 of those catchers on the roster right now. And the youngest one, Joe Mack, is hitting the best out of all 3 so far with him. There is an intriguing amount of pull side power with Mack. The key question is whether it's more gap-to-gap doubles power or true home run power. So far in his career, it has been kind of the former, where not a whole lot of balls that are leaving the park, but some very solid line drives that are producing runs nonetheless. And as a player that's still relatively young, there is some room for him to continue to add strength to his frame, and perhaps that will just lead to some better results so far. All things considered, it's been solid season for Mack so far. That's what earns him a spot back on our top 30 list after being unranked entering the season. And he could make the case relatively soon that he might be the top catching prospect in this entire organization. Although I think that speaks more towards the lack of alternatives than it does to Mack being a up and coming star. He still has a lot to prove, but thankfully this has been a much needed bounce back compared to what he was in 2023. To high A Beloit, we'll go with an unranked, a former undrafted free agent signing for the Marlins, infielder Josh Zamora, somebody that we have not covered a whole lot on Vision on First. He is 25 years old, playing at high A. So especially on the position player side, that is a pretty big factor that makes you want to take the numbers with a bit of a grain of salt. But his numbers have been so good that I had to at least shout them out right here. Zamora has a 903 OPS this season in 30 games. He has 7 homers already in those 30 games. And that's notable because he had 7 total home runs last year, which he played mainly at the same level in Beloit and got a cup of coffee at Pensacola as well. So he's repeating this level. He's old for the level. He has mainly been their second baseman so far this year, although he does have considerable pro experience both at shortstop and at third base as well. Yeah, interesting guy. He is undersized for sure, listed at 5'10". That might be generous. He just turned 25. I'd like to see him pushed up to Pensacola just to see if there's anything more here. Even the raw tools don't completely jump out, yet his performance has been outstanding, and there's nothing left to prove for him at that level. Currently in Pensacola, the shortstop position is going to another former undrafted free agent in Harrison Spahn. I don't want to go on too much of a tangent, but Jacob Berry at Pensacola, mainly playing third base with some right field mixed in as well. He has had a disastrous start to his season, and I don't think it's outrageous, despite the optics of potentially just switching spots, switching levels, and giving Jacob Berry a reset at Beloit so that Zamora can go out and perform and try to prove that there's a little bit more offense to his game than had previously been expected coming into the pros. So yeah, so things going well for Zamora. Not a whole lot to say about what it means for his future until he actually replicates it against more similar age competition. We will wrap up with one of the underperformers early on this season, outfielder John Cruz. He was the centerpiece of that package for John Birdie of the deal completed right before opening day. Number 16 ranked prospect on our top 30 list, just 18 years old at low A. It's a brand new level for John Cruz, and he has been humbled from the very beginning. His batting average has sunk below, I think, 150 for almost the last month, if not longer. From the very beginning, he was in a slump. Very recently, he's coming off one of his better series as a Marlins prospect this past week, where he went 5 for 19, a 649 OPS. But that just speaks to how low the standards have been so far. He's just not hitting a lick. He has so much room to add strength, especially on his upper body. And right now, he just does not have the physical tools in order to do damage to the ball. His average exit velocity this year, 82 miles per hour. And that is very fitting because it's almost a dead match for what John Birdie is doing at the major league level. Except with Cruz, this is a 6'2", 6'3" guy that showed power potential in rookie ball. I think that was a big part of the appeal. He's going to be a corner outfielder moving forward. He's playing almost exclusively right field so far this season. He'll have to hit the ball a lot harder than he currently is. And so when you combine that with more strikeouts than you would like, a strikeout rate in the high 20s, with 0 home run power, the defense has looked solid in right field, all things considered. Nothing special out there either. I was surprised that when the Florida Complex League season started a couple weeks ago that he wasn't simply reassigned to that level to get things reset because he's been one of the worst offensive performers in full season ball for any organization, and even in this Marlins organization so far among guys that are actually playing consistently. So yeah, Cruz, I'm not going to overreact so far. This is a new level for him against much older, experienced competition. That being said, not encouraging if you were somebody that was hoping the John Birdie trade would bring back something substantial in return. It's still a major question mark as to what Cruz will become. Early returns have not been much. It shows that both physically and with his approach, he needs to get back to the lab and a lot to learn. Unfortunately, he has so much time on his side as an 18-year-old. So those are my prospect spotlight quartet for this week: Xavier Edwards, Joe Mack, Josh Zamora, and John Cruz. We'll do this again, same time next week here on the Small Pod. Subscribe to Fish on First wherever you get your pods. All of our audio content presented by MPT College Consulting. Check them out, mptcollegeconsulting.com, to learn more about their services and schedule a free consultation. I've been Ely Sussman. Thanks for listening. Go Fish.